Well, our next speaker is a senior UI designer. So now we're going to bring in some designers. He is super talented. I know him personally as well. I've worked with him as well. He's worked with some global multilingual companies, multiple startups. He really takes user experience to the next level. I mean, this is somebody who eats, sleeps, and breathes user experience. He's worked in cybersecurity, finance, banking. I know he's focused on a lot of B2B, B2C. I think he's on printed materials too. I'm not positive, but I'm 90% sure he's worked on printed materials. And I know he's worked on a lot of really cool interactive materials as well. And I'm going to let him talk to you about that. Mark Levinson, senior UX designer. Mark is fantastic, and I'm really excited to have him here to speak today. Mark, take it away.
Yeah, well, I've been in the profession for quite a while now, and funny thing is, I've prepared something that has to do with the communication part of design. So I want to talk about comments. I want to talk about an effective way to communicate through writing between people inside a project while the project is going on. I made a presentation. I'm gonna show it to you with share screen right now, and I'm gonna talk over it. Sharing screen, starting presentation. All right. So my name is Mark. I'm a UX UI designer, and I want to talk to you about written comments in the design process. The topic is how to write constructive design comments. And since 2020, remote work has become more common, and we all use text more often to communicate. It actually has become mainstream, I think, right now, and text is booming big. So I want to talk about how to do it right with some examples. So a bit about me. I've been a full-time designer for 12 years. 6 of them I've been a freelancer. I've worked on over 30 projects in different roles. I was a designer, a manager, art director, team leader, sometimes a client. So I've been on both sides of the barricade. My work usually looks like this. So I work on B2B SaaS. SaaS is software as a service. So I work on pretty complicated dashboards, statistics, analytics, and stuff like that. These kind of works require a lot of planning and a lot of iterations inside. There's a lot of screens and variations for each screen. So we do talk a lot during these projects. We talk a lot about every bit and piece inside of them. So written comments, this is what I want to talk about, and they are part of general idea of design feedback. Feedback is a bigger topic, and comments is just a small part, and I'm talking about the written comments today, and I want to keep that in mind. So written comments is little pieces of text that designers and their managers send to each other while discussing the design. It's a topic, it's a specific way to communicate. It's important to use comments right and to know when to stop using them, because they tend to become a time trap, and we don't want that, of course. So this is a 5-minute talk, and I'm gonna dive. I shrunk this talk, actually it was about 20 minutes. I made it into 5, so I'm gonna dive right into some examples. On the left is gonna be the bad, how not to comment. On the right is gonna be the good, how to comment correctly. And in the gray, on the bottom right, is going to be the why, explanation why you should do it like this. So we'll start with designer examples. If you are a designer and your manager asks you to do something, make a button red. Of course, you don't want to make a button red. You want to make a button red. And you want to tell them back through comments, I don't think it's a good idea. In actuality, and a good idea would be to ask why. To ask for business or product goals. This way, you can understand the motivation and maybe the underlying motive for this request. Another example, if you want to answer, but it will be ugly. So the manager asks to paint the button red, and you want to tell them it's going to be ugly. Except, and my suggestion, instead of that, explain your no in design terms. So what I mean, use something like it's outside the design language, it's outside of our guidelines, etc. So explain yourself and give some design jargon. Use some professional language to explain yourself. if you want to take, if you don't want to do something that you know it will take a lot of time, explain your no in hour money cost. So this will take me half a day. Are you sure you want to try this? This way, your manager will understand money or time. This is what they deal with the best. So if you explain yourself in hour or money costs, your manager will get, okay, this will be too long. Let's not do that. Another example from the designer side, if you don't understand something, don't try to figure it out through comments, because it might take a lot of time. Instead, just try to talk through another medium, through instant messages or Zoom, or stuff like that. Okay, moving on to manager examples. So this time we are turning the table and we're thinking as a manager that needs to manage a designer and ask them to do something. So you want your designer and you want your requests delivered and executed as soon as possible. So when you want something done, for example, capitalize this text. So instead of giving instructions on what to do, give your designer an exact phrase to copy paste. For example, sell now. An exact phrase, letter by letter. They'll just take it and paste it. No mistakes will be made. Style it the same as the previous page. So here, instead of telling that, just give them a link to your reference. If you have a link, of course. If you have emotions bottled up about the process, if you're not pleased and you're angry about something, try not to go into that through comments. It's not a good place to be. It's not a good place to put it. Instead, if you need to vent, call and talk. Don't do it through comments. It's counterproductive. Leave emotions out. The favorite request from managers for designers is, can you make it pop? So, and if you're a manager and you have a page and you need to make it pop, what you need to do actually is to explain why you need it to pop. And this will actually give your designer a directive, a reason to do what you want them to do. If you don't like something, you can't really explain because you're not a designer. You just see that it's not working. Try to switch away from comments and go into Skype or Zoom or IM. If you're not sure about what to do next, also, my suggestion is to avoid time traps and talk instead of commenting. Some magic words to use in your comments. Why? Are you sure? Because, in a structure like, can we try X because Y? And the word maybe works very well. And the most important magic word for the comment section is, let's discuss this through a call. So I'm actually talking about switching away from comments to a better means of communication. I made something up. It's called the feedback effectiveness scale. And before remote work happened, people used to either work face-to-face on the right here, or we used to exchange emails. And everything in between was less used. And recently, coronavirus happened, and most of design work moved online and became remote. So comments is one way to communicate, and there are a few other ways, and I'm calling you to use them too. This is it for my talk. I made a little PDF, I call it Remote Design Feedback Playbook. I've dealt with a lot of feedback in my life, going again as a manager and as a designer, and I made up a few rules and a few general ideas of how to do it better, because there are ways to do feedback more effectively. So if you want the PDF, drop me a line on this email. And this is it. This is my talk. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Mark. That was super insightful.
Thank you.
A lot of interesting information over there. So basically, I mean, if you could, before you go, if you could just talk about call to action for a minute. When you're talking about using certain trigger words, right?
Again?
You're talking about specific trigger words, right?
Yeah, also. Yeah, it's okay. So in general, it's the topic is feedback. It's not just comments. So I just picked a niche inside feedback, which is comments, and I talked about that specifically. But yeah, there are a few algorithms of how to do things inside the feedback cycle.
This is a very small part of it. We need a lot more information from you, Mark.
Yeah, I know. I'm writing a book.
I forgot to mention that at the beginning. So yeah, truth is, Mark is only giving you little snippets because he's in the middle of writing a book. So if you want to hear more from Mark, you can find him on Amazon. What's the book called?
It's not done yet, but you can find me on Mark Levy Design.
There you go. Mark Levine Design. And if you want more information from him, you got to pay him by the hour.
Of course.
Thank you so much for your time, Mark. I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Mark.